All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome
Hello.
to the Lloyd Library and Museum. I'm Patrick Ford, a librarian here at the Lloyd. I'm joined by another librarian, Erin Campbell, in the back, and that is Emily Little, who does outreach and marketing for us. Please feel free to ask us any questions. We'll do our best. If you have not already, please sign up for our next event, which is in 2 weeks from tonight, so Wednesday, April 9th, and it's called Cultivating Victorian Womanhood, Botany, Domesticity, and Healthy Households, with Dr. Elizabeth Yuko, who is an award-winning journalist, bioethicist, and associate editor of Rolling Stone magazine. This lecture is a perfect complement to our current exhibit, Welcome to My Jungle. And tickets are almost gone, actually, so please grab them now. So if you've been here before to an event, you might know they often sell out. So speaking of sellouts, by becoming a member of the Lloyd, you will get access to early bird registration to all events. So please feel free to speak to any of us about how to become a member or grab a pamphlet at the table in the back. This evening is being filmed by also videographer Emily, and it will soon be posted to our YouTube channel, the Lloyd Library's YouTube channel. So, and if you're registered for tonight, which I think most of you, all of you are, you will get an email notifying you that it has been posted to YouTube. So, without further ado, we shall introduce Sam Ferrarelli, who is the owner of HedgeStone Farm in Clermont County, Ohio. She has degrees from Hocking College and the University of Cincinnati, and is a natural resource specialist, which basically means she's a ranger with a badge but without a gun.
Important distinction.
That's right. She might let you even call her Ranger Sam.
Yes.
Among many other responsibilities, she trains park rangers of the Army Corps of Engineers in environmental education. Hopefully by now you've got some food, which I'm sure she'll tell us about soon. We will have questions at the end, so save them for then, unless you want to. Okay, that's how we'll do it.
Yep.
And without further ado again, please join me in welcoming Sam Ferrarelli.
Thank you. Thank you so much for coming out. My name is Sam Ferrarelli. Ranger Sam works fine. I will going over a little bit of my background today before we get into our main topic, which is why you're all here, which is Field to Forage. So we're going to be exploring edible natives in our own backyard. So today my goal is to go over some of the do's and don'ts of foraging. So if you're brand new to foraging, it's going to give you some kind of rails, some guidelines to go by. And then we're going to talk about some of the plants that you can find that are edible by the season, so you know when to look for them. And we're also going to talk about just common backyard plants that you can find. I do say natives in here because I like to focus on natives. That's one of my pillars of HedgeStone Farm, is focusing on native plants and kind of bringing that the native plants into more of a modern agriculture. I say modern, but more into the present day agricultural scene. I think it's really important to understand what's around us and what could sustain us and what did sustain people for thousands of years prior to European colonization. So I want to stress the natives, but I will say that a lot of the stuff that's growing in your backyard probably isn't native. But it is probably naturalized to our area, so maybe not necessarily invasive. We're not talking lesser celandine, we're not talking honeysuckle. Though you, I know, I'm sorry, someone bleep me. But I will be talking about some naturalized plants as well, or just some that you might have had in a garden too, okay? So before we get too far into today, I want to go over just a little bit of my background. So you know, I'm not all of the stuff that he said the next speaker is going to be. I'm none of that. But I do have I have 3 degrees, which sounds really cool, but 2 of them are associate degrees from Hocking College, one in wildlife management and another in natural and historical interpretation, which just means I speak well to people. My Bachelor's of Science comes from the University of Cincinnati in Environmental Studies. I will say UC was not my first choice. It was the closest, cheapest choice, so I could get my degree in the fastest time I possibly could, so I could get my full-time job, which I hold still to this day with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, which some of you, if you're unaware, you hear U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and you say, but Sam, you just called yourself a park ranger, and you also say you do environmental education. And those two don't mix. but they do. So the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers owns and operates most of your public water lakes around the country. As far as actual acreage of water that is managed for public recreation and for other public missions, the Corps of Engineers actually has more than National Park Service, Bureau of Reclamation, any of that. The Corps does more. So in this area, there are 5 lakes that make up the Miami River area, and I have worked at 3 of those in my almost 20 years, 14 years of experience with the Corps of Engineers. And I have about 20 years of natural resource experience working anything from private nonprofits to state parks to then the federal. I created my farm, which is who I'm here representing today, not the Corps of Engineers, although I can talk about my work, but I'm not with the Corps of Engineers. This is all for legal purposes. I'm not with the Corps of Engineers right now. But I created HedgeStone Farm in 2019 on our 3 acres in northeastern Clermont County. So if you are familiar with Stone Lick State Park, that's very close to where I'm at. My address is Fayetteville, which is a Brown County, but I'm actually in Clermont County. It gets confusing. So anyway, I'm in that corner. All right. Any questions about me before we get started? No? Okay, great. So I love questions, and I want to talk to you guys about what you want to know. And so I have put this presentation together in a very basic way so that you guys can help me lead the talk, so I can help answer some of the questions that you may have. So if you do have a question at any point in time, feel free to raise your hand or interrupt me, and I'm happy to just expand on whatever you guys want to know more about. Okay? I am going to say right off the bat, though, I'm not going to be talking about 2 things. One is mushrooms. Why? Because mushrooms are a whole other subject. They're a whole other talk, and there are people way more qualified to talk about mushrooms than myself. I'm also not going to be delving into the medicinal purposes or benefits of all these plants. Do they have them? Absolutely. Again, that's a whole other topic. I'm just going to talk about the ones that you can make yummy stuff out of and how you can do that. Okay?
That works.
Perfect. Thank you. All right. So, for foraging. When we talk about foraging, there are 3 things that I like to tell people that you need to keep in mind. One is your place, one is time, and the next is timing, and then the imposters. So when I talk about place, I want to know, am I able to pick something at a specific location? So if it's private land, do I have permission from the landowner? If it's public land, what are the public land rules that we have for foraging? Most public lands will have some sort of rules or regulations. For Cincinnati, the Cincinnati parks, and a lot of the metro parks, most of them do not allow it at all. But if you come to state parks and federal land, the rules get a little bit more lax, so you are allowed to forage for things like berries, nuts, that sort of thing. And just mostly no digging, okay? So that's, first off, is it legal? Don't be stealing pawpaws off of somebody else's property, okay? Next thing is this, where I'm gonna be picking, is this someplace close to some sort of contaminant source? So by contaminant, I could mean, is this in your backyard where your dog may perhaps have been recently to go to the bathroom? Because that would be a contaminant source. Or is this within 100 feet of a road or 100 feet of some sort of a high industrial area that you could have a lot of pollutants coming off of and then landing and settling into that plant, either in the soil or on the plant itself? Those are all things to keep in mind. We also want to make sure that for timing, is it the right time of year to forage these plants? So that could mean, is the plant ready to be foraged? Like, is it ready? Is it going to make me sick if I pick it too early? Or it could also be, hey, is this legal for me to take at this point in time? Which an example of that could be something like, anybody want to guess?
Ginseng.
Hey, there you go. Yeah, ginseng. And then, of course, we have our imposters. So biggest rule of foraging is if you don't know what it is, don't pick it. Okay? Everybody understand that? can you promise me if you don't know what it is, you're not going to pick it? Great. Because we don't want to get into any trouble, right? We don't want to make ourselves sick. Oh no. Yes, sir.
Was that a false morel?
That one was a false morel. Good eyes.
Oh, he gets extra points.
He does, extra points. I don't have my gold stars with me. So my current position with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers is Natural Resource Project Manager, which just means I still wear the funny uniform with the badge, without the gun, but now instead of getting to do the fun things outside, I have to do the boring paperwork and the staff stuff. So I have a staff, and I motivate them through gold stars. And I think that's silly, but I have a roll on my desk, and they're very coveted. So gold stars are. Didn't bring them with me, but mentally. All right. So again, location is everything. Make sure that if you're on public lands, you know the rules. And again, anything within 100 feet of a roadway or other heavy industrial site. Also knowing what was the land used previously for could be important. So if you are foraging in a public space, and that's great, or maybe it's private even, but if you find out that this area was maybe a dump site at one point in time. So I have my property when we bought it, it's just over 3 acres. The person who had it before us was in construction, and he loved rocks and concrete. And I don't think he was able to throw things away, so he would just bring them home from construction sites, and he would make piles. And sometimes he would eventually decide to burn everything. So I have areas in my yard that I don't plant anything in because they were used very heavily for burning God knows what. So I don't grow on them, and I stay away from those areas. They don't really grow much of anything anyway, but I try to stay away from them when I'm cultivating. Actually, my fireplace is the original cobblestone streets from downtown because he brought them home from a construction site. So that's my fireplace now.
So why would you be worried about a place where things were burned?
Because we found, because of what he was burning, which was a lot of industrial trash, and I don't know what was in it. Tires. Yeah, it could be tires. We did find tires. We found lots of like melted glass, but I don't know what it came from.
Wood.
No, I'm not worried about not necessarily wood, although we had a lot of railroad ties, and burning the creosote off of those could be dangerous. He brought home telephone poles, so like those were also a thing. Our yard was very overgrown when we first got it, and it was an adventure finding what was beneath the grass. So yes, a lot of it's the industrial waste that I don't know what he burned. Every once in a while I'll be plowing somewhere and like I till up a shot glass and I'm like, why is this here? It's not mine. Yes.
I know it says 100 feet
Mm-hmm.
of a roadway,
Yes. General rule of thumb.
but like my backyard is within 100
Exactly.
feet
Yeah.
of a
Yes.
roadway.
Oops. Yes. And the general rule of thumb is 100 feet because that's what studies have shown how far those basically the smog coming out of the back of a car is going to go, potentially. Now, do you have a fence around your yard?
Yes.
Okay. Is it a chain link or is it a board?
It's a 6-foot privacy.
Privacy fence? Okay.
It's whippet proof.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I got you. All right. So more than likely you have something stopping it from getting into your backyard, at least to an extent.
Okay.
Again, this is very much, don't be, oops. You can do it, clicker. There we go. Basically, I don't want to pick this dandelion growing out of the sidewalk on the
Right.
side of the street.
Okay.
Or if you are going to pick that stuff, cool, make sure you wash it very thoroughly. You should be washing anything you pick because in nature, you don't know what's pooping on what. But if it's not your dog, it could be something else. But wash it very thoroughly. That's gonna help. All right. So this plant down here, anybody? Yeah, it's ginseng. Yeah,
Oh, James.
that's ginseng. Yep.
I'm just saying it.
All right. So we want to make sure we also, when we're foraging, that we're getting our timing right. So timing can affect the plant's taste and viability. We want to make sure that we know what parts of the plant to pick when, and I've got an example here in a little bit. If you forage it at the wrong time, it also could be dangerous to you. And some plants, like ginseng, you can actually get a permit for and hunt on federal land, but you can only do it through a certain time of year. So again, knowing those laws of where you're foraging at. So everybody should know this fruit right here. This is our state fruit. What is it? It's our pawpaw, right? But these pawpaws were picked by my very adorable, very well-meaning 4-year-old before they were ripe. I sent her to the pawpaw tree and I said, hey, pick the squishy ones, like find the ones that are squishy. And she decided these were squishy. They were not squishy. But she was very proud of them, so I played along. Because if you eat an unripe pawpaw, it will give you many dietary issues. It's the best way to put it.
Yeah.
Maybe. Oh no, the clicker was working. There it goes. Oh no. There, okay. So, imposters are also very important to know, especially if you have some very specific ones in your area, and we'll talk about a couple of those here in a minute. So we want to make sure that before you consume it, that you know exactly what it is. If you don't know it, don't eat it. Make sure you have a good field guide that'll help you determine if that species is what you think it is and is also edible. And although the internet is at our fingertips, not all the information on the internet is good information. Have any of you, yeah, right? Imagine that. Have any of you guys seen recently, one of the things I've been tracking a little bit because I find it fascinating is there are people out there who are writing books with AI. And they're publishing them, self-publishing through Amazon. It's very simple to do, but people are doing that now with cookbooks and foraging guides. And so there's actually a court case out right now because somebody published a mushroom ID book, and it made a lot of people very sick. So that's a currently ongoing case. I just read about it the other day. So be very cautious about your resources. You're obviously here in a library, so you know where to get your good resources. You have very talented people here to help you. And I do have some books, I forgot to get them out, but that I can put out a little bit later. And I will be getting Emily a list of resources that I personally use, and I can share that. You probably know some of them, but if you don't, you'll have them. And some of them actually now are even online, which is great, so you don't even have to buy the book. So this one has the name on it, so I can't give you credit for picking it, but here's wild grape. Haven't you guys all seen wild grape before? Anybody ever seen Canada moonseed before?
Never heard of it.
Never heard of it? So in Appalachia, in the Appalachia regions, this will grow right alongside wild grape. Both native, they're supposed to be there. This one can kill you. This one's fine. And they look very similar. I actually had a professor, a little bit won't kill you, it'll just make you very sick. I had a professor who would bet kids in his dendrology class if somebody would eat part of one, that he would give them an A for the semester. No one ever did it, but it was very interesting to see the initial, and then they found out what it did, and they were like, oh, I don't think I want that. But they do grow right next to each other. It's called moonseed because the seed inside these berries is a crescent shape.
What does it do to you?
It affects all of your insides, and they're going to come out very badly. And then it's just not going to make you be able to. I'm forgetting the technical term, and I apologize. But basically, you're not going to be able to retain anything, and then eventually, you're going to end up dehydrated. Yeah.
Or the leaves are different though.
The leaves are different, yes, but they are basically the same shape. One's serrated, one's not. And they're also a vine. So it's a vine, and the problem is they grow next to each other or intertwine. So you got to be careful about what you're grabbing. You can do it. Oh no. All right, so big three again: location, timing, and imposters. Anybody know what this guy is? Yeah, nope, that's golden seal. That's right here. Golden seal, yep. So the reason I put this up here is because golden seal is one that most people want for the root, and you cannot typically dig for the root on any public lands. Timing, anybody know this guy? It is a mayapple. Don't eat this one. It'll make you poop. This one is fine. Yep. And then this is an imposter. So it looks like a wild carrot,
Hemlock.
but this is poison hemlock. Yep. So it's looking like wild carrots, looking like Queen Anne's lace, but this is poison hemlock. And you can tell that because both the wild carrot and the Queen Anne's lace are going to be a solid umbel of flowers. They're not going to have these little, like little one, little one, little one, little one, kind of looking like one of those static balls that you used to see at Spencer's in the mall. Right? That's what this guy is.
Stem is spotted.
And the stem
Yeah,
is
the
spotted.
stem.
Yep, the stems are also very different. All right, now we have a test. So this is what?
Elderberry.
That's elderberry. Yep, Sambucus canadensis. Yep.
Yeah, pokeweed.
And then pokeberry, pokeweed. Yep. So are these edible? Oh, okay. We're gonna raise our hands, guys. All right. So if you think they are both edible, raise your hand.
Depends.
Kind of.
If you think one of them is edible, raise your hand.
Well, if I think both.
Okay. This is where that timing and those imposters come in play, right? So, both of these have things in them that could harm you, right? Both can do it. But if eaten at the appropriate time and cooked the appropriate way, you're fine, okay? So, these not ripe berries. These are your ripe elderberries. This is the ones that you want to pick. Don't be cooking these guys. They're not going to do anything good for you. Then you want to make sure also, a lot of people do get pokeberry and elderberry confused, which I always thought was interesting because I don't think these look anything alike. But I think people see pinkish stem, purpley berry, and then they don't know pokeweed, and so they just automatically think elderberry because elderberry has become very popular in our in our culture now. You hear about it more in more popular like herbalism medicine, and people saying they're taking elderberry syrup and all that kind of stuff. I typically put all of my elderberries into elderberry jelly. And so when people ask me like, oh, is that healthy for you? I'm like, well, it's as healthy as jelly can be. Jelly is half sugar. But it's got the elderberry in it. Like, it's got that stuff in it too, but it's mostly sugar. So pokeberry though, this part, don't be eating this, but can you eat this guy?
Yes.
Technically, you can eat the new shoots. So on this is a really great picture. And this was a great blog post that this individual did about eating, how to find and how to eat, and what to actually look for in pokeberry. Do you guys see how pokeberry has that, in the young shoots, it has this very thin red skin over top of the green part of the shoot? This very thin, this is actually something you can literally peel off at this stage when it's young. If you peel that and then cook it correctly, it can be eaten. The red, eventually, because the pokeberry stem is going to get very red, right? And they get massive. Once that all comes in, that's where a lot of your toxins are. So, can't eat it when it's mature, but you can eat it when it's small. Any questions? I have not personally eaten pokeweed, and mostly because it's the most generic looking plant when it's tiny. And so I don't pay attention to it until it gets too big, and then it's past time. But from what I've heard, is it's very similar to like a Malabar spinach when cooked. Yeah, it's a leaf.
Just saute it in a little
Yep.
oil.
Which I think is, I'm glad you brought up sauteing it. Saute your greens. So like I did the dandelions that were in here. I mean, that was just boiled and then lemon juice and olive oil and salt, and that's it. And that's a lot of how you're preparing a lot of your greens. You need to cook them. If you don't cook them, then you might have some problems. But you can also, for dandelion, you can eat it pretty much whenever. Is it going to taste better if you boil it or saute it? Absolutely. But it won't kill you. Oh. There we go. No. Oh, I think maybe I'm impatient and it's got a delay. All right, so when we're looking at foraging, we're going to talk about foraging with the seasons, right? So one of my big things is I try to use the plants as they are coming into season. So a lot of times people will ask me in the spring if I have things like elderberry, and if I didn't have a good enough stock from the fall, or if I used it all. No, I won't, because I'm not going to go out and find more. I'm not going to have more until the berries are on the bushes come fall, and very into summer, beginning of fall. And that's just something that I try to do. I enjoy doing it. I enjoy working with the seasons and what I have. So in spring, or our first part is going to be our flowers and our greens. The middle of summer is going to be full of berries. And then your large fruits and nuts, things that take a lot of energy and time to create, are going to be in the fall. Oh, honestly. Anybody know what this guy is? It's purple dead nettle. What's this guy? These are blackberries. And that's persimmon. You guys are great. So the wild pesto that I did in there, that has a majority of it is purple dead nettle. And then some wild garlic was the other green that I added, because I don't know if you know this, Mother Nature doesn't read books nor care about your schedule. So she decided to be cooler, and so plants stopped blooming that I was hoping I would have. I was hoping I could do a wild green salad for you guys, like little red bud flowers on top. It'd be real pretty. Nope. Maybe. They don't have a lot of taste to them, but they're pretty. See? I need to be more patient. All right. So in spring, here are some things that you can look for that you may be seeing out right now. So I have wild alums up here. This could mean wild garlic, or it could mean wild onion. Both of these are very common to find in your yards, and you're going to notice them now because they are going to be the tall things in your grass. If I can teach my 4-year-old, I am certain that all of you can pick up on it. I taught her what these were, and she's been picking them ever since, and now has like a potion box that they keep going into, because I spare you guys the ones that she picks, because I don't know where she picks them from. So the one that you're eating tonight is wild garlic. That's the one I picked, but I also have wild onion in my yard. If you want to know the difference between the two, if you cut wild garlic, it's going to be hollow. If you cut wild onion, it's going to be solid. And that's for the leaves. I'm not talking about the bulb. I leave the bulbs. You can pick them and dry them. I mean, you treat it exactly like you would chives or green onions. You can dry them that way. What I have in here tonight, again, the pesto has it, but then I also made flatbread with wild garlic in there. And that was super easy, and all I did was cut it up with herb scissors after I cleaned it. So made my whole house smell like garlic. So then we have dandelion, which again, not a native, but very much naturalized. And all of it's edible. Would I want to eat an adult dandelion leaf? No, it's going to taste pretty bitter, but you could. But you could also eat the tuber. You could eat the flower. Originally, I was going to do dandelion jelly for you guys. That was a thing. If you don't know, dandelion wine, dandelion syrup, which is actually, if people don't want to eat honey, you can substitute dandelion syrup in. It's a very similar taste. A little more lemony, but citrusy, but it's a very similar taste. That was originally what I was going to be doing for a jelly, for a flower jelly. Because it's one of my favorite things to make. It's so easy, it's delicious. But again, didn't have dandelions because Mother Nature didn't listen. So I got the next yellow flower, which is for Cynthia, which happened to bloom for me, which was great. Yes?
Is it the jelly, dandelion jelly, is that from the flowers? Leaves?
It's from the flowers. So for the jellies, for any of your floral jellies, which if you guys want to talk more about floral jellies, I do a whole talk on it. Because I figured out I could do them, and then I was like, what flowers can I do this with? And I did way too many. But the dandelion, you take only the yellow petal part, so you actually cut off the green, all the green comes off, and then you steep that like a tea, and then you take the tea and you make the jelly from the tea. So Redbud and violet are also flowers that you can make jellies from. They make beautiful jellies. This one makes a very beautiful dark pink jelly, and the violet is a beautiful magenta color, because once you add, you don't have to do this step, but if you want to preserve it longer, make it shelf stable, you need to be adding lemon juice to your floral jellies. If you're just going to eat it right away, you don't have to do that part. But the lemon juice is going to be your help keep bad things out, right? It's going to be your preservative. And if you add the lemon juice, then it turns that beautiful magenta. If you don't, it's going to stay a bluey purpley color. Redbud flowers and violets, dandelions. You can make dandelion fritters. That was another thing that I was thought about doing. Or dandelion capers with the clothes, the flower buds. You can make capers out of those. Redbud flowers don't really have a lot of taste to them, but they're so pretty and they look beautiful on top of a salad. Same with violets. Violets, treat them like you would. I see a lot of artsy bakers using pansies, and that's the same thing. So go ahead and use your violets the same way. I was speaking with someone earlier today, so obviously I work in a public land, so I care about people following the rules. And you are not supposed to be picking plants on federal land. But if I see you out there and you're picking garlic mustard, I ain't stopping you. I'm gonna walk the other way, or I'm going to say thank you. Would you like a volunteer form? Because it's prolific in our public lands. So this is not naturalized, this is invasive, right? So this is taking over, this is covering all of the ground, and it's basically beating out space for spring ephemerals. So we want this gone. And it's very much an edible plant. Unfortunately, wasn't blooming in time for me or wasn't growing enough in time for me to be able to pick it for here. If you are picking garlic mustard, do not. Garlic mustard will proliferate from nodules on the roots, and it will go to seed if you just let it lay there. So like if it's already looking like this and you let it sit, it'll still proliferate. So make sure you try to get as much of the roots out as you possibly can, hang them in a tree, and let it die up in the tree. Don't leave it on the ground. Or put it in a bag, haul it out. It can go to the trash and stay there. Or eat it, that's fine. But as long as it's out of my park, I don't care.
So what does it taste like? Does it just taste like you're eating garlic?
It's a mustard, so it's a like a peppery. If you ever have like a mustard leaves that you put into a salad or something, it's a very. My daughter would call it a spicy leaf. It's got a lot of. Yeah, radish is a really good comparison. Yeah, so. It's very, to me, I'm thinking it's hot, but that's not a good descriptor. But yes, like a radish. Like a radish is hot and spicy. Yeah, a little, and then that little bit of garlic undertones to it. But it's one you can cook. And yeah, you can make pesto out of it. Yep.
Does it taste like mustard green at all?
Yes. Yeah. Yep. Just hotter. Yeah, hotter. Yeah.
You didn't say anything about the dead nettle.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
I've never eaten dead nettle.
Did you eat the pesto in there today?
Yes.
Then you ate dead nettle. So dead nettle, thank you so much for reminding me. I got off on my tangent and I forgot it. Stay, don't go. Okay, so dead nettle is, there's 3 different creeping mints that look very similar. So these, purple dead nettle is your first one. Hendit's gonna come up next. But this guy, they're all edible, they're all mints. So if you wanna know if something's a mint, if you grab the stem and turn it between your fingers, it's gonna be square. It's gonna be a very, you're gonna know that it's a square stem. Wild bergamot, same way. Bergamot being bee balm, if you have bee balm in your garden, comes from a native plant, wild bergamot. Also a mint, mountain mint is also one of our native mints that's here in the state, and both of those also, it's mint. They're edible. You can eat them the same way you would these guys. So I put it in a pesto because I was already planning on doing the green tea with the elderberry in it, but I also dry this and I make a tea from it. So which you would do like you would like a mint from your garden, like peppermint or spearmint or whatever.
Do you just use the leaves, or are you also using
The leaves and the flowers. So the leaves, the flower, the top bit, because everything on dead nettle comes kind of up to a top. I take all of that and then I dry it and then grind it up from there. But the stems you have a lot of space on these stems with no leaves whatsoever. And it's not that you can't do them, but it's not going to do anything really either. You might as well just get rid of them so they dry better.
But it doesn't taste minty.
The dead nettle in a tea does. It's not spearmint. It's not wintergreen mint, but it definitely, to me, feels minty. Now in that pesto in there, it feels very woodsy and very earthy. And I think part of that also might be how it's playing with the black walnuts that are in that pesto.
But that was fresh, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I didn't dry that.
So the dried has a different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Correct. Yes, I picked that today. I walked out and I said, "Where is my biggest patch of dead nettle?" Actually, I was still desperate to try to do a salad, and it didn't work out. All right. So once we get into summer, which is basically the first week of June, you are going to start doing berries. So mulberries are your first ones. How many of you have eaten mulberries? Great. Do you eat them right off the tree? Yeah, right? Okay. Yeah. So when we got our property, one of the first things I noticed was there were mulberry trees everywhere, and I was so excited. And my husband was clearing the brush so we could find the piles of stuff underneath, which resulted in a lot of wire wrapped around blades. But anyway, I made him keep all my mulberry trees. So I have over 20 mulberry trees on our property. And so every year around the first week of June, as long as we don't have a late frost, because a late frost will get these guys and you won't have any berries at all, around the first week of June, everything near our property starts pooping purple. So if you've ever, and you just have magenta stains everywhere. My kid's face is stained magenta because she can reach the berries. So mulberries are great. You have two different kinds here. The native is red mulberry, and the non-native is white mulberry. They do hybridize. The white is from Asia, and it was brought over for medicinal purposes. The leaves of white mulberry are used in a lot of herbal medicines. Sorry.
Silkworms. Yeah.
Yeah, and the silkworms. Yeah, that too. Again, I'm talking about the food. Yes.
Is it true that the white mulberries are hallucinogenic?
I mean, I'm fairly certain all of my trees are hybridized, and I've never hallucinated on them unless this is a hallucination. No, I do not know I don't think the white ones they don't taste great. Like, I have some trees that I think are based on how they grow and their leaves, I think are more one way than the other. And I think the white mulberries don't taste good, and the red mulberries are sweet. So maybe I just haven't eaten enough. I'll have to try. I've not heard that they're hallucinogenic. But so getting to my point, the red are sweet, the white not as much. So if you've ever eaten one and said, these are disgusting, you've probably eaten a white mulberry and not a red. The white mulberry is misleading. It's not a white berry. They look basically the same.
I just have a little disclaimer.
Yeah.
I was a scout leader for a number of years, and when telling the kids what to eat, I would always say, whether you're in a survival situation or whatever, just eat a little bit first to make sure you're not allergic.
Correct. Yes, that's a great point for any of this. Yes, eat a little bit first. Make sure you're not allergic to something. How many of you guys are allergic to poison ivy? You have a reaction. Well, I was blessed for 20 years of my life, 22 years, of not having an allergic reaction to poison ivy, which meant for scouts, I could pick it and rub it on me and then ask them what they thought it was, and then they would never get it right, and it was great. I loved it. I love seeing their little faces like, what are you doing? It did, and that was a problem. And now I get it very easily. So I can't do that anymore, and it makes me sad because that was one of my favorite tricks to pull on scouts. Also, if it's a white berry, just don't eat it. Don't eat a white berry. It's either not ripe or it's poisonous. One way or the other. So I don't mention sumac too much in here. I'm not sure if I have a picture of sumac, but our one native sumac that is poisonous has a white berry. And also poison ivy berries. They're white. Just don't eat white berries. All right, so white berries bad. Or if they're not, they might just not be ripe. And at that point, they're probably also just not gonna make you feel great. So your dark purple berries on both your white mulberry and your red mulberry are gonna be your ripe berries. They are seedy. A lot of times they're buggy. There's not a great way to keep bugs out of mulberries. So what I do is when I pick mine, which when you pick mulberries, you can do a couple different things. I use child labor and myself, but you can also just take a giant sheet under a mulberry tree and shake it, and then the berries will fall on it. So that way you don't have to do this ponderous thing of trying to pick all the berries yourselves, because the ripe ones will fall off. And then you have to let it sit for a minute because all the little spiders and other insects that are there are going to walk away. Or if you don't do that, I take mine in and I have a salad spinner that I put them in with a little bit of cold water and a little bit of vinegar, and I wash them that way to get my bugs out. That can go for all berries. So one of our, I said most of these are going to be berry related, but elderflower is also coming up in our summer because they're going to have the fruits in the fall. So first week of June, we're getting into June. End of June, black raspberries are going to start. If you don't know if you have a black raspberry or a blackberry bush, because these are different, the black raspberry bushes have that white, almost film on the stems. That's your black raspberries. And they're going to be smaller and they're rounder and softer. Whereas blackberries have juicier because they happen later in the summer, so they're able to put on essentially more weight, more sugar, more water. And they're going to be, hopefully, if they're growing well, they're going to be bigger and longer and plumper. Right? We also have stinging nettles coming in. These can really come in earlier in the summer if they have a good, depending on where they're growing. But stinging nettles, by their name, sting you. How many of you have gotten into stinging nettles before? It's not fun, not at all. But if you cook them right, they are very tasty. You just have to get around the picking them part first. So wear gloves, wear long gloves, long sleeves. These guys have the same stuff in them that rhubarb does. So very, very similar chemical compositions. So blackberries and then your wild grapes here at the end. I've just looked at time, so I'm going to go a little bit faster. Maybe. I said too much. You can do it, clicker. You're almost done for the night. Okay. So in the fall, now we're getting into when you're going to have all of these things that took the plants much longer to create. They put a lot more energy into them. And when plants do that, typically like your garden plants, they're going to be sweeter or hardier, right? So elderberries are going to be at the beginning of fall. Pawpaws are coming on next. Pawpaws are typically not a fruit that you're going to find in your backyard. And if you do, wonderful for you. I happen to have some. But it is not common. If you have a nice wooded edge shaded, you might be able to get some pawpaws to grow, but you have to also be very patient because they take 5 to 10 years to get their first fruit. And then you have to have the right stuff to pollinate the flowers, which unlike nice, lovely bees and stuff, they rely on flies because they flower so early on that they get these nice dark blooms that are like deep burgundy and they smell like rotting meat and they attract flies. Which is one of the reasons why pawpaws have not been cultivated, because it's very hard to cultivate something when you have to like bring in roadkill to get good pollination. Actually was a thing they did. Anyway, you also have persimmons coming in very late in the year. Again, very sweet. This is the American persimmon, not the big ones that you see from the Asian varieties in the store. And you've got tubers and nuts. So I didn't put cattails on here, but cattail tubers also kind of fall into this time of year. Jerusalem artichoke. So it's a native flower, looks beautiful, looks like a sunflower. Has, I'm gonna call it something you can basically use like a potato at the bottom as a tuber, that are great. And if you get them to grow in your yard, they're gonna be very prolific. They will take over, they love to spread. But it's a constant food source for you. So if you like that, then great. But if you try to control them, or if you want them in a very specific spot, good luck. Black walnuts, so you guys did eat some walnuts today in there. So it was in the pesto. There were just black walnuts back there. And then the little walnut biscuits that were made from walnut flour, which is just ground up walnuts. You can also eat acorns. But acorns are very high in tannins, so the stuff that they tan leather with. So you have to do oaks and acorns, you actually have to go through a whole process to get them to the point where you can mill them down for them to be edible. It takes a lot of work. I leave these for the wildlife. But I am on the lookout for oak galls because, again, I make natural ink from the black walnuts that I have, and I would love to make oak gall ink, so I always look for those. And you have white and red oaks. So there's multiple different species within the oaks family, but they're kind of separated into reds and whites. Your whites are going to be the ones that you want to look for.
Right.
Because they have less tannin. Right.
Mm-hmm. You got it. You guys are smart. All right, so just some common backyard plants. So broadleaf plantain, probably growing in your yard. Not right now because it got cold again, so it's not growing yet. But this one's a great one. It's full of good things for you. It's easy to eat. You cook it just like you would spinach or collards or any of those other greens. Chickweed, which a lot of folks are just going to look over because it's so small. Also edible. You can make a pesto out of it. Chicory, which you've probably heard of chicory coffee. This is, again, these are naturalized plants. But chicory, the root, you can pull chicory out and use the root. You could also use this as a dye. This has also been used as a natural dye. Queen Anne's lace is in the wild carrot family. So this is Queen Anne's lace. You can see how that's a nice full umbel and not the separated umbel of poison hemlock. Wood sorrel, I grew up knowing this as sour grass because it is kind of a soury taste to it, but you can eat all of it. I taught my kid this one, so she just runs around the yard picking it. And then clovers. So I liked this picture because it has both of our common clovers in it. So your red clover and your white clover. These are edible. I make jellies from these flowers, just like I do the dandelion. And you can also just eat them. They're fine.
What's edible in the Queen Anne's lace?
So it's you can make the flower is edible. You can make the jelly out of it. I would say I've also seen fritters out of Queen Anne's lace.
The root?
I would think the root. I want to say the root is edible, but I would actually have to look that one up to make sure. I pigeonholed myself into floral jellies last year, and I got real deep into what I could and could not make a jelly out of. So that's why I know that one.
What do you do with the wood sorrel?
Eat it. I just eat the wood sorrel. It has such a, I call it sour grass because it kind of makes you pucker. But it has such a nice flavor on its own. I mean, you could throw that into any salad you wanted to, or you just eat it like that. Yeah, you could saute it, or yeah. That one never makes it inside. It just gets eaten in the yard. Oh, okay. So before you go out foraging, please make sure you have a plan. Make sure you find your plant. So look at your home. Notice where it's available. I have like hawk eyes for where I see large stands of elderberry in different people's property to see if I can figure out who owns it so I can go talk to them. And you make sure you get permission. When you're actually out picking your plant, you're going to harvest it. You want to make sure you wash it accordingly. and have a plan of how you're going to use it. Don't overpick. Don't over forage, right? You don't want to pick a whole bunch of stuff and then be like, what am I doing with this now? It's cool that I have it, but I'm never going to be able to process it all and it'll go bad. And then preserving your plant. So how are you going to preserve that plant? Are you going to make a floral jelly out of it? That's great. Are you going to dry it? Are you going to freeze it? So the wild alums that you have, if you chop those up, you can freeze them in butter or olive oil, and they're easy enough to use later. I do that with basil as well. It's the same principle. And then do you have the time and space to do all of that preserving? Because some of us have great intentions and then things get away from us. That's what happens with me. And that's why I put this picture down here. This one it's hard to tell, but it's spice bush. And I picked a bunch of berries from spice bush one year with the intent of like grinding them up to do an allspice out of the spice bush berries. And then I forgot about them and they molded in a jar. So for preserving, again, you're drying it, you're freezing them, or you're making some sort of preserve, right? Whether it's a butter, a jelly, a jam. When you freeze your berries, if you lay them flat on something and let them freeze and then put them in a bag after, then they will freeze like that, and then you don't have a lump of frozen berry. I'm good with a lump because a lot of times I'm just making jam or cobbler or something later. So it can be a lump of berry. I'm not trying to make it pretty, but if you are, you can freeze them separate or lay them out separate, freeze, and then throw all in one bag. This is my munchkin that I kept referencing in my talk. Yeah, she's real cute. She knows it. All right, so I know that was very brief, and I'm sure you have lots of questions, and I'm very happy to stay and talk. I also want you to get more food in there if you haven't already, because I don't want to take it home. Anybody have, oh man, I got 3 minutes for questions right here.
Just one little thing on foraging.
Yes.
If you just see one plant, leave it.
Correct, yes. Yep.
Because you don't want to decimate the area of that particular plant.
Correct, yes. Yeah, if you are out and you say, hey, I only see one, I'm trying to think of something. There's only one mulberry. There's never only one mulberry. One ginseng. I'm not going to pick ginseng at all. Like there are people now who have planted ginseng in a way that they can then go back and harvest later. And you can find those reliable sources if you really need to get that. But I know people who do. But yes, ginseng's a great example.
I would like you to add Amelanchier to your
Serviceberry.
Oh, yes, I don't have serviceberry in there. No, I didn't. Yeah, and you know what? And serviceberries, it's very good. Serviceberry is one that is on my list to plant on our property because serviceberry it's an understory tree, which means it competes now with bush honeysuckle for any of its life in the wild, and so you really don't see them very often. So they're on my list along with American hazelnut to plant on my property.
And American plums.
And American plum. Yep, American plum. Yeah. I actually planted plums at the park that I'm at now, and they did good for a little while, and then the deer found them, unfortunately. So I'm probably going to have to replant my plum stands.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Well, if you have serviceberry, you can be sure to see cedar waxwing.
So my mulberries are heaven for cedar waxwings. I have flocks of them, and so we have an understanding of they get the top part of the tree and I get the part where I can reach. Because my trees are mature trees, and so I can't get the very tops of them anyway. So we actually also, for our smaller mulberries now that have come in since we've cleared the property and we've left small trees in places where we wanted them, we've started to coppice them or grow them into fences. So I have one mulberry that's like 3 years old now that's like, it's probably 10 foot wide, like this at the base, but then we've woven it in to make it a fence, which is great because it's all eye level, and then it creates a nice stable environment. My husband started doing it one day out of nowhere, and he thought it was fun, and then it turned out to be a really cool idea. So now I take credit. Yeah, yeah. No, it was definitely him, but it is working really well. Yes.
Do you have any information on the nutritional value? It's usually the darker ones, the darker whatever, have more of the phytoflavonoids and all that.
Yeah, and correct. That's a very, I don't want to say it's always true, but it's typically, right? Same with a lot of these native greens, especially the ones that are coming up super early, are really high in your vitamin C. And they've also got a lot more fiber and stuff in them than what our cultivated plants do. Because a lot of our cultivated plants have been cultivated for taste and not for their nutritional values. So it's, I mean, not to say that you shouldn't be growing lettuce or whatever. I like lettuce, I like spinach, but substituting for the things that have not been tampered with for the taste does provide you with better nutritional value.
Is there some website you use?
I actually have some good resources through the USDA and also, test my knowledge. I had all these resources and I was like, I'm going to make a slide, and then it got to be super late at night and I was like, I don't have the energy to. But I think it was Ohio University that had another great breakdown of it all. Ohio University also has a really good website where it breaks down everything they see, like wildflowers that they've seen throughout the entire state and when they bloom. And it's all the way through. It's very nice. There is another a book that just actually went to a PDF that you don't have to buy the book anymore. I have the book in here if you want to take a look at it. But it's by a gentleman who's from this area. His name's Solomon. He broke down the nutritional value, a lot of the nuts and fruits, all of our native stuff, and he does a full in-depth breakdown of all of the. Yeah, it's great. It's a great book. Yeah, it's wonderful. I have it in here if you want to take a look at it. Yeah, basically, yeah. And he also is talking more about taking our native plants and making them more, bringing them into the modern agricultural scene. That's where he was starting from. I think his business now is more gone towards native seed mixes for prairie plantings and things, but he still has a lot of this other information. But now he's for free. You don't have to buy it. Yes. Yes.
Yeah. I think there's a foraging website, because I looked at it once. No, it's also like bagels and things like that, but it had pawpaws and it had places that people allowed you to go there.
Yeah. I found some websites that were in that similar vein, and I hesitate to reference them now because they weren't in use currently. They hadn't been updated in a while, at least the ones I found, and so that made me nervous. A lot of them seemed to die around COVID, and then a lot of them reappeared. Something else came after COVID, and it was an interesting dichotomy there. But I do have some of those books in this other room if you guys want to take a look at them. I just touched that mic again. And I'm going to do these two lovelies right here.
Okay.
I'm going to let you go first.
All right, I picked persimmons.
Yes.
But they're really hard, even with my mill. I get all the skin and the seeds.
Yeah.
Does anybody here have any tricks for getting the meat off the seeds?
It is a labor of love. I run mine.
That's the answer I'm looking for.
Yeah, I know. I run mine. So I run mine through a mill, and then I take it and I put it through just one of those, no, I don't even do the cheesecloth. I take a flour sifter to get all the other big stuff out and to make it really, I just mash it in there with a potato masher, and then I just get pulp afterwards.
I did have good luck with, have you ever seen a potato ricer? It looks like an overgrown garlic
Ooh,
rice.
yeah, I haven't done that.
It's pretty good, but you can't put very much in.
Yeah, it would take a while.
It's just gonna be a little.
It is. And I feel the same way about pulp, getting all the seeds. The only thing that's
everywhere.
Pulp takes a while.
We have a pretty unusual tomato processor,
Okay.
and that might work really well for
Yeah.
persimmons.
Okay.
It's red. I don't know if that'll be helpful. But basically, it has these two blades that spring in and out.
Oh.
It's very unusual, and
Huh.
you just dump the whole tomato in there and crank away, and all the seeds and all the skin go out one chute, and all the good stuff goes out another. and you could run it through 2 and 3 times, and you wind up with the teeniest bit of skin and seeds and stuff. So if you cut the seeds out of your persimmons first, you know, well, don't laugh.
Sorry.
But then you put the
eat
rest of the mess in there, you get all the skins, and you might do the seeds too, but they might be too big.
Yeah, the seeds are big.
It's called a Victorio.
Okay.
Oh, Victoria Strainer.
Yeah.
It's red. Don't forget.
It's red. Got it.
I have another question.
Yes, you did. Yes.
A lot of the greens that you're talking about, high in oxalates, and is that really a bad thing for some people?
That's a great question.
Kidney stones.
Yeah, kidney stones.
Have to consume.
Well, like,
Yeah, so it would kind of be like technically
yeah.
elderberries are edible, right? But the seeds have cyanide in them. Well, so do black apple seeds or black watermelon seeds. You'd have to
you're
eat.
just not going to eat enough of it.
Correct. Yes, and if
But
you do, you're a
oxalates
very
are
interesting
different.
person. But I think this goes back to your scout thing, right? Like eat. If you don't know how something's going to affect you, eat a little bit of it at a time, and then don't just go don't go cold turkey on everything that's processed, and then go straight to picking out of your backyard.
It also depends on what kind of oxalates are in the plant. So like a pothos has calcium oxalates in it. That's going to, usually it'll cause like your mouth to get irritated. It'll feel like kind of like little pricks in your gums or your lips or your tongue. So it depends on what kind of oxalates are in it.
Yeah. And I think you're going to have more. You're just not going to eat enough of it to be able to really, really affect you, unless you're already sensitive to it. And in which case, you should be looking for those things anyway, because you know you're sensitive to it. That's something about knowing your own body. Anybody else have any questions? I think I'm over time. Thank you guys so much.